The Early Weigh-In podcast is back, and Saturday, in my opinion, the most anticipated title fight of the year. It's the first title fight in UFC history with both undefeated fighters going into it. I'm so pumped for this one, man.
I am extremely excited about this one. I mean, it's been a long time coming. They've been calling each other out for, I don't know, since Costa entered the UFC, He's been aiming for that belt. So
he has, man, and both guys just play into each other's strengths and weaknesses so well. It's such a close fight in my opinion, but outside of that one, the whole city kickboxing squad is going to war this Saturday. I love having all of them on the card together. Just the vibe, the energy. They always bring fun fights. So a little bit, lacking as far as strength on this card until they threw in that second title fight. But these guys put on fun fights, man.
I agree. That second title fight really saved the card, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, man, last weekend, I don't really want to recap too much or anything, but we did see we had a great night, bro. Over 7 units positive. So in the last 4 events, we are up, over 13 units and stuff now. Just to touch on a couple of them, man, Tyson Nam got the finish inside the distance. Then we saw TJ Laramie get stuck in the sub by Derek Minner in the first round. And you called it, getting stuck in the Daniel Swain submissions and stuff, and Minner made it look too easy.
Yeah, it was really impressive. Skipping over a few, that Kevin Holland fight, Darren Stewart, what'd you think about that?
So, I was super, super worried going to the judges. I actually thought that Kevin Holland might have lost that, but, I thought he did enough to win the first 2 rounds, but with judges, you just don't know anymore.
Right. I think we both anticipated it getting done inside the distance, but we just didn't see that happen. Right. Darren Stewart looked thick in there.
Yeah, he looked good, but can't skip over the Randy Costa fight. Man, we cashed big on that one. I know we're huge fans of Randy Costa and went out there and put him away with that left head kick.
Yeah. Mackenzie Dern, really, her stand-up still looks sloppy.
She slipped on the kick and everything,
but terrible game plan from Randa Marcos. That's terrible. Yeah. Why would you ever do that?
It played right into Mackenzie's game, and once it hit the mat, it was basically over for her. I
agree.
We did bet on Johnny Walker, and
I called that
to a T, man. That is your play of the night there of Johnny getting it done with the elbows and stuff up against the cage while he's stopping the takedown, and that is exactly what happened. I remember us just freaking out on Saturday.
It was insane. I've never screamed that loud.
Cam's man.
The hype is real.
The hype is real. But Meerschaert might as well give him the damn black belt. I don't even care if he submitted him. That was just about as bad. I said that Meerschaert was so slow on the feet, and if Ian Heinisch was going to land that right, Kamzat absolutely could, but I didn't think it was going to be 17 seconds in.
Well, you saw fear in Gerald Meerschaert's eyes. Like, from the moment that bell rang, he started backing up, and you could just tell he was scared. And
I've watched that knockout over and over again. It's one of the cleanest right hands you're ever going to see land, man. The co-main event didn't get finished inside the distance like we thought, and, still think Nico won. I know that the eye pokes caused him to get a point taken away, but I hate that, man, because I thought Nico did enough, and I like the head that Cerrone has on him and stuff, man, because, he'll be the first to tell you that Nico won that fight. He was disappointed with the draw.
Although Nico wasn't disappointed with the draw, he was actually really happy with it. I like Nico. He's got a good attitude, but I agree. I think he won that fight.
Yeah. And, man, Colby went out there and did exactly what we thought he was going to do. I told you that first round was huge for Tyron, and after it didn't really go his way, Colby dominated those next couple rounds and stuff, man.
You saw his confidence deplete after each and every round, and every takedown. You could see it in his eyes. I actually thought that he was going to quit with the eye poke. I thought he was going to take that DQ victory.
I remember you touching on that.
I was really happy that he stuck in there. Although he broke a rib, but.
I know right before the fight, both of us do a little prop bet on Colby Covington to get it done in the 5th round, and odds on that were like plus 1,500 or something like that. So that was such a nice snag right before the fight started.
$5 to win 110.
Yeah, it's something stupid, man. But this Saturday, first seeing the pay-per-view, first glancing at it, really wasn't that good and stuff. You add the second title fight, and then I get in to actually start breaking down some of these fights, and that city kickboxing squad, they come to fight, man. There's some fun fights throughout this card that I'm really excited to break down.
I agree. This first one we're about to talk about, I'm not even sure how this is a UFC fight, but I am happy that they're starting us off with some big boys right off the start. Right. We got light heavyweight, heavyweight, light heavyweight.
Which was the exact opposite of last week. We started off with, I think,
all prelims were under featherweight.
Yeah, so complete change on that. I love seeing the big boys kick it off.
Same. So we're starting off with Khadis Ibragimov versus Danilo Marques. So Danilo Marques is 9-2. Ibragimov is 8-3. Both of them relatively green for the division. Now, Danilo, this is his first fight since February of 2018. That's a long layoff.
It is.
We kind of talked earlier about how he got this fight, and we think that maybe Shogun was pulling some strings in the background, and maybe got him this fight. Realistically, Danilo really hasn't faced any solid opponents. His last 3 wins, his opponent's combined record is 10-29. So he's fighting tomato cans for sure. And then on the flip side, Ibragimov, he's on a 3-fight losing streak. That being said, at least they're all UFC talent.
Right.
So I don't. At least I think that his losses speak more than any of Danilo's wins. So. As far as this fight goes, I lean towards Ibragimov. He does have a high output where he's landing over 5 strikes per minute, but he's absorbing over 6 strikes per minute. So I do expect this to get done relatively early, and I lean towards Ibragimov, but I also expect a sloppy fight. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, man. So first thing, when I looked at these fights, man, how did Danilo get into the UFC? It really absolutely came down to Shogun pulling some strings after, being cornered by him a couple weeks ago. But Dana's been up front with everybody, man. If you want to fight, he can get you a fight right now. And so if it doesn't matter who you are, if you're on the cusp of the UFC, we've seen so many short notice calls and stuff lately. Dana needs some fighters. So only part of me that understands it is just Dana needing fighters, because he is not UFC caliber. He had touched on his last couple opponents, but man, in the 11 fights he has, one guy has been over a 500 record. So tomato cans is absolutely what Danilo was fighting. Or Khadis, on the other hand, 0-3 in the UFC, like you said, but much better competition. He is 9 years younger. He's going to be much more athletic. He's a much more superior grappler, in my opinion. And we see Marques take guys down and try to grapple them and stuff. And I don't think that game plan is going to work against a much younger, much better grappler in Ibragimov. I don't want to, just knock Danilo that much, but I almost feel like this was a gimme fight for Ibragimov. Like, hey, you need to win. Like, if we send this guy back outside the UFC, he's going to absolutely demolish all his opponents. But, he's good enough to be in the UFC, but we got to give him some scrubs in order to get a win on that record. And I think it's done pretty early as well. I like Khadis with the ground and pound in the first round or two.
And I know our bookie isn't allowing us to bet on this fight, but if you do get the opportunity, I don't think it's a bad bet to take Ibragimov at a -160 at all.
Not at all. So we both agree Ibragimov to get the job done, probably inside the distance.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
Nice. And then next fight we have Juan Espino, who's 10-1, fighting Jeff Hughes, who's 10-3, and man, there was a lot of hype around Juan Espino in the Ultimate Fighter. He was the winner of the Ultimate Fighter 28, the heavyweight season there, and I mean, it's just total domination with this wrestling. It's on a level of Curtis Blades, and to when I say, like, he doesn't mess around, man. He's not coming in there to strike with you. If he has a game plan, he sticks to it. He knows where he's good. He knows he's 39 years old. He knows he has to come out there and wrestle you. The bad side about Juan is, man, he's coming off a long layoff. I don't think he's fought since winning the Ultimate Fighter heavyweight where he broke his hand. And he's had multiple surgeries on it now, so it's really giving him some trouble. He's on a big layoff, coming off some injuries. He's 39, so there's some stuff going against him, but, man, his one loss dates back to like his second or third fight to Vitaly Minakov, who is now in the top 5 of Bellator's light heavyweight division or heavyweight division. So the dude is no slouch by no means, and the wrestling skills are far, far above Jeff Hughes. That being said, lights out Jeff Hughes, still searching for, I believe his first UFC finish, but in LFA and stuff coming up, Hughes was putting people's lights out, and although we've yet to see it, I do know the power's there. He doesn't have a ton of volume. He really does try to lean on, the one-punch power, but, man, he's very, very outclassed on the mat here. I don't think he's going to be able to defend the takedown, and unless we see Juan just not be himself, I think he gets it down in the first round, and we see a submission. Juan's a very good ground game.
I agree. I think Juan kind of takes this on. I think he can take this very easily. Some of the unknowns coming into this fight is, yes, he's coming off of a 2-year layoff and he's 39 years old right now. Now you can get away with that at heavyweight. I mean, we see the Daniel Cormier at 41 still kicking ass.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if Juan's necessarily built like Daniel Cormier. So I actually remember watching him in his fight in 2018 and thinking he just physically looks old. He is 6'4" with an 80-inch reach, and so he is a towering opponent. But it just I do think that it's going to eventually wear on him. And then to move over to Jeff Hughes, another really big guy for the division. He's weighing in at that 260-pound mark every single time. Like you said, he's coming in out of LFA. He was a former champion there. His 2-fight losing streak, Rafael Pessoa, high level. Maurice Green. Now, Maurice Green is a common opponent between both of these guys. Jeff Hughes actually has 1 loss and 1 win against him, where Juan has finished him by rear naked choke. Yeah. And I think that kind of speaks volumes. Just that being the common opponent and how they got those victories done, I do see Juan really taking this relatively easily. One thing that's working in Hughes' favor is that he's training with Stipe, and so hopefully Stipe's trained him up good and really, tested his takedown defense, and hopefully they've been able to improve that, because that is the only way that I see Hughes getting it done.
Yeah. So both agree. Juan Espino probably going to get that one done though.
Probably by sub too.
Yeah,
with those 7 submission wins.
Too, yeah. I think it's minus 250, something like that now.
Minus 270 last time.
270. So Juan's definitely the bookie and the odds. They say he's supposed to get it done. I probably agree with them, but I will. I'll be the first to admit that the little layoff, the injuries in 39, it does worry me a little bit, as Jeff Hughes has been one of the more active fighters that we've had on the roster.
For sure, a lot of unknowns coming into this. Yes, he should, but realistically, what do you know about a heavyweight that's heading towards the end of his career and hasn't seen the cage in 600 days?
Right.
All right, so now we move on to William Knight, maybe the craziest body in 205, just a physical specimen, versus Alexei Camur, who is young but a very exciting fighter. Now, William Knight, a little fun fact I heard is he used to weigh over 300 pounds, and I definitely see that his frame was carrying that. Right. You can tell that he had all that muscle in him, and it's not necessarily that he's extremely athletic, but he's extremely explosive. And so I could see him being like a lineman in football. He kind of resembles that type of athleticism to me. And I think he relies a lot on his explosiveness rather than his technique.
Right.
We've seen in both of his Contender Series wins him get mounted in that fight and then is just able to kind of muscle his way up. It's very similar to Derek Lewis, how he's not technical, but damn, you're not going to keep him down.
Right. When he wants to get up, he's getting up.
Right. Now that being said, I have seen a couple of good things from William Knight. Is whenever he gets into the clinch, he does have some decent trips. I've seen him do that a couple of times, and that's how if he initiates the takedown, that's how he's going to do it, is try and clinch up with you and just look to be the physically stronger guy and use that trip and power up top to kind of throw you to the ground. Now, Alexei, I think maybe, a lot of people like that he's young, but I do think that might work against him in this fight. He looks for a home run win almost every single time. Most of his wins are by first or second round KO, and his last victory was against Justin Ledet, which was his first time ever going to decision. Ledet's not somebody that you can compare to William Knight. Ledet's 6'4" with an 80-inch reach, so it's really hard to even take anything from that fight. So I just I look at Alexei and I see that he has better footwork. He's definitely the faster guy. And he does look for that home run and almost exerts too much energy whenever he looks for it. So I could see him getting tired and William Knight just over-muscling him towards the end of the fight. Although I am leaning towards Alexa, I'm not confident on it, and I don't like him at a minus 155. I think that this is much closer to a pick'em. Yeah,
man. So I'm right there with you. I don't like him at a minus 155. This is definitely a much closer fight, in my opinion. They tend to give those younger guys such an edge when it comes to the odds and stuff, but, he's, I think, what is he, 8 years younger or something like that than William Knight, but I mean, man, William Knight is one of the most athletic guys we're going to see on the roster. I don't know if you've seen after his wins, but the man does a backflip and comes down into the splits. Like, he is athletic as it comes. And for me, it almost cancels out, that youth and stuff that Camur is going to come in there with. That being said, Camur also trains with Jeff Hughes and Stipe and Cody No Love at a strong style, and I really think it's evident in the way that he boxes and stuff. Stipe and Cody No Love, it's evident in their boxing skills coming from strong style. They don't they don't use the left. When they throw the 1-2, the left hand is not used as a jab hand. It's used to, they almost slap the side of the head with it. It's more of just to set up the right hand. You've seen Cody knock out the Asian guy there before on his way to the title fight, and I mean, he basically slaps him with his left hand before he lands the right, and Camur does the same thing, man. He really does a great job at using that left as a distance finder to find the chin to land the right, and that's by far his best shot of winning this fight. He's going to have a little bit of size advantage, not really in the reach, but definitely in the height there, but you touched on the strength of William Knight in those grappling exchanges. When he wants to get up, he gets up. And, man, when he is on top of you, he's a hard guy to get off you. He is so strong. Only one decision between both of these guys. I know they're both, kind of green, only, 15 fights or something in between the two of them here. But, I mean, neither guy, one decision between the two. I don't see this fight hitting the judges' scorecard whatsoever. I haven't got to see the prop odds of it being under 2.5 rounds, but that's probably something that I would really, really look at playing, because I think both these guys being so green, William Knight being in the UFC debut for him, coming off the quick turnaround in the Contender Series, man, these guys want to finish and stuff, and I really see him coming out there guns blazing. Both these guys are so dangerous in the first round. As it progresses, I don't know if the cardio is going to be there for either of them. It could get a little sloppy after that, but man, I think this is a first round finish. I've been back and forth on it. This is one that I honestly didn't pick a winner until we started this podcast. But I'm going to lean with the younger guy, Aleksa Camur. I think he's superior in the boxing, and he uses that length well. I think he's going to set the right hand up and put William away with it.
I've also got Aleksa winning, although I'm not very confident on it.
Yeah.
And like I said, for the price tag of $155, I just don't like it.
More comfortable playing this fight, not going the distance, because either one of these guys have a great chance of hitting the fight.
100%.
And, man, super exciting one for me, man. We've got Shane Young, 13-4, fighting Ludovit Klein, who's 16-2. And right off the bat, man, I'm going to go ahead and say his 7-fight win streak. Ludovit Klein truly is in my top 5 list of guys who was not signed to the UFC, who should be signed to the UFC. He was up there with the Brendan Loughnans, with the Brandon Royvals, and stuff, who were out there on the LFA radar and stuff like that, who weren't signed. I mean, this guy is 16-2 and not in the UFC, so he's a great kickboxer, but he really sets up his hand super well. He's a first fighter in the UFC from Slovakia, so, going to have some hype. I'm sure he's got a little bit of country behind him and stuff and a following over there. One thing you notice about this guy, man, his boxing is so good. He sets up that left high kick so well. He gets you thinking about the hands, and he throws it up there, man. And that, that's my prediction of this fight card. I think Shane Young is going to get KO'd with the left high kick. This Shane Young, man, he really does mix up his game well when it comes to his striking and his grappling, but there's something about them city kickboxers, man. They just they pull you into a brawl. They like to have fun. They're all on the card together. I think we're going to see a couple just super, super good fights. This being one of them, man. I don't think Ludovit Klein gets this done easy. I think we see a back and forth first round. I think both guys might even open each other up. This is, don't want to touch on it, but too much. This is my fight to watch on Saturday, man. Ludovit Klein making the UFC debut. There's a bunch of hype around this guy, and I'm high on him myself, man.
I kind of lean towards Shane Young on this one. I have seen a lot of people online really leaning towards Klein, but as I took a look at his record, the guy that he got the head kick knockout to come into the UFC, he was 1-4 in his last 5 going into the fight with Klein. And then looking more so at his other opponents, his opponents' records are also deceiving. They have winning records, but if you look more into their records, they're fighting 1-1 guys, 0-3 guys, 3-2 guys. It's all just tomato cans from top to bottom, and I'm not so sure about Klein. His biggest promotional win is in Octagon Prime, and the one time he did try and step up to Cage Warriors, he lost that fight, and so I do think that maybe it'll help that there's no crowd here, but it'll help that there's no crowd here, but I think that he's going to bite off too much again. And I kind of see Shane Young getting this done with his pressure. I know that Shane Young, his only loss since 2015 is against Alexander Volkanovski,
which I think he trains with now.
I think you're right, and he went to decision with him. Volk wasn't able to finish him, and when Volk did take him down, every single time Shane Young was able to get up. Now Volk was able to hold him down a couple of times for maybe a minute or so, but he always got to his feet. So, I think that As far as, the left high kick from Klein, I don't think it's going to be anything that Shane Young isn't seeing day in and day out at City Kickboxing. He's training with some of the best kickboxers, and I think that he'll be anticipating that. Now, Klein, again, there's still like more unknowns there than I'm comfortable with. I couldn't even find a reach for him online. There was nobody who had his reach, which just makes me think that, what kind of promotion is he fighting at? What kind of people is he fighting? And I've seen Shane Young get in there with the best and really not perform well, but at least hold his own. Right. You know what I'm saying? So I think that Shane Young, I like him in this one, but like you said, I do think it's going to be a dirty fight, and it will be a scrap for sure. But I do lean towards Shane Young. I know that he opened at a -165, and a lot of people have been seeing that Klein line and pounding it. Yeah. So now it's closer to that almost pick-em odds right now.
Absolutely. So first one that we're split on in the night, but man, we can both agree that that's going to be a fun fight.
That's going to be awesome.
I know you're super excited about your boy on the next one here.
Man, yes, I'm extremely excited about this fight, but I'm also very nervous for him. My boy Diego Sanchez, 30-12 at welterweight versus Jake Matthews, who's 16-4. Jake Matthews is 12 years younger. He is what, in theory, Diego Sanchez is the best at. Matthews is a wrestler.
Yeah.
Now, since 2017, Matthews has looked really, really good. He's been 5-1 since 2017.
And that's since making the move to welterweight.
Right. Okay. And so, I feel like he kind of outclasses Diego everywhere, from stand-up to the ground game. I don't see many paths to victory for Diego, which really sucks because I do like Diego. He's at least entertaining. Yeah. Everybody can admit that he's at least entertaining. In his last fight against Michel Pereira, he threw 2 rolling front kicks that I've never seen, and they weren't close to landing.
Right.
There's a lot of questions surrounding the legitimacy of Diego Sanchez's head coach, Joshua Fabio. I've seen some of their training methods, and it is touch butt in the park. Yeah. It's rough to watch, and I really think that Diego Sanchez's best days are behind him. The path to victory, maybe he can lull Jake Matthews to sleep. If he's able to stuff some of those takedowns and maybe use some of those force fields against Jake Matthews, maybe he can get Matthews to kind of slip up and then catch him when Matthews is coming in, but I don't see that happening. I'd give Matthews this 9.5 out of 10 times.
Yeah, so I'm right there with you, man. You touched on him being 12 years younger. Since making that move to welterweight, he's 5-1 with the lone loss to like Anthony Rocco Martin. So he's up. Rocco Martin just got through fighting freaking Neil Magny and stuff, man. So right. Much higher level of opponent and stuff there. But man, when you touch on Diego Sanchez, it's one of the most impressive resumes there is, bro. He's been in the ring with everybody. But in my opinion, he's on the level with BJ Penn, man. He almost is a little too crazy, getting up there in age, the chin and everything. When are they going to call it quits on this guy, though? That being said, he's coming off a win. He is coming off a win where he got the the DQ win when Michelle kneed him in the face when he was on the ground. But he did take Michael Chiesa to decision and stuff, too. Mm-hmm. That being said, we saw Chiesa come out with the super grappling heavy game plan. And that's where Diego thrives, man, is in the grappling heavy. And if Jake Matthews comes out there, I could see Diego doing something on the mat that makes this fight interesting, that's a little crazy. But, man, I'm right there with you. I think even though he goes to decision in almost every single fight, Jake Matthews is the far superior fighter at this point in their career than Diego Sanchez. The chin, if Matthews lands clean enough, I know he doesn't knock anybody out, but anybody can almost knock Diego Sanchez out right now.
Right. Now, whenever I saw Matthews' last fight against Emil Meek, I saw him throw this lead uppercut that, slipped right through Emil Meek's guard, and I could see that happening in this fight as well. One thing to note is Jake Matthews was a -500 against another guy, Andrew Holbrook, and he shit the bed.
Yeah.
So, maybe we see that again. Maybe we see Jake Matthews sitting at a -625 blow it.
So I know Holbrook was the fight that got him to move up to 170. So I don't know how bad the weight cut and stuff was. But when you're a minus 500 favorite, you should be getting the job done now. When we have seen Diego do anything he can to get in Jake Matthews' head over this fight camp. When it comes to Twitter, his Twitter army and everything, man, sending Jake Matthews some DMs and stuff. I've been part of that as well. I can't lie.
I'm part of the Diego Sanchez army.
But man, Jake Matthews is just a far better fighter. Nothing Diego does is makes me think he can finish Jake. But there's so much that Jake can prove that I think can finish Diego at this point in his career. So I've got to lean toward, what the odds makers are telling me and Jake Matthews. Is it close? Maybe. I don't know. You never know with Diego Sanchez, but minus 625 could be a little steep for Jake Matthews, who doesn't ever finish anybody.
I agree. And, just because I'm throwing a little sprinkle on Sanchez. I just am.
Absolutely, brother. I'm excited for it. I'll never miss a Diego Sanchez fight.
Right.
He's going out on the shield if he doesn't make the fight interesting. Brother, man, Brad Ridell, 8-1, fighting Aleksa Silva, who's 21-2. Brad Ridell, outside of Izzy, Brad Riddell is my favorite person in city kickboxing. He's just so talented on the feet, and he's so willing to get in a firefight with people. He's so fun, man. I know for a while, I think he actually, helps coach the striking and stuff at city kickboxing. He's very talented, and people really respect his striking ability. That being said, man, at 155, I truly think he can make 145. Brad Riddell is only about 5'7". He's still 28 years old, so I'm not worried about, age catching up to him and stuff and hurting the weight cut. I really do think Brad Riddell can make 145 easy, and I hate that he's not tried that yet. I know Volk and Volk sitting there and stuff, but I don't really see Brad Riddell ever winning a title. Mm-hmm. But, you also have Dan Hooker at 55, which I don't see Brad getting that high either. So, drop to 45 where I think the size comparison and stuff is much better. Being said, his weakness is most definitely his grappling. If Aleksa Silva comes out here and wants to just go grappling heavy the whole time, I could see him making the fight super interesting because Brad, man, I don't want to say his cardio is bad, but in that Jamie Malarkey fight, he really started to slow down after throwing 250 shots. I don't want to say his cardio is bad, but he really did start to gas. And Aleksa Silva is not somebody you can gas against, in my opinion. He's going to be there for the full 15 minutes. He's got great size for 155. He's like 5'10". This guy is, one of the guys who you could talk about maybe even moving up to welterweight. He's got a big frame, and Brad Riddell being a much shorter fighter, he's really going to have to close that distance quickly, or else I think he's going to get tagged himself. Being said, man, Brad will go through hell and back in a fight. I haven't really seen that in Aleksa Silva yet, and I really do think with all his teammates being on the card, we're going to see Brad Riddell come out here in phenomenal shape and put on a really, really good fight. De Silva's movement is super, super good, but he's kind of wild in his exchanges. He's willing to exchange with Brad, and I think that's going to be his downfall. He's a little wild, he's willing to exchange, and he's fighting a guy who's twice as technical on the feet.
Mm-hmm. You touched on Brad Riddell's striking ability. Yeah. He has excellent combos and finishes almost every single one of them with a leg kick to finish off, and they're always extremely hard. Now, you touched on Brad Riddell maybe being a little undersized. A lot of his experience is at welterweight, so he has fought those bigger guys, and I don't expect size to be a problem for him in this fight, but I do think that he should consider that 145. Yeah. He carries a lot of weight, especially up top, but if he can, that would be, I think, his go-to. Now, Brad Riddell, more on his striking, he uses feints extremely well. He opens people up by just feinting, and then finding a way to enter with those attacks and then finish off with those leg kicks. Now, this is his sixth fight since 2019. He's very, very active, and he's on a 5-fight win streak. So momentum is definitely in the corner of Brad Riddell. Now, on De Silva, I had trouble finding much tape on him, but from what I did see, he is very explosive and has a good left hook, and I like that about him, but I also don't have enough about him to really give you a solid pick on this fight. I know that he's 21-2, and in his last 5 fights, 2 of those losses are coming in his last 5. So he's been shaky in the past 3 years, and I see that coming. I don't see that helping him facing somebody like Brad Riddell with that striking credentials. Now, De Silva, he's going to have a 3-inch height advantage, which hopefully he can use. But once again, I just think that he's going to be a little outmatched on the feet, and I see Ridell getting this done pretty easy. I don't think that the price tag at a minus 310 is justifiable. Yeah. I do think that it's closer to maybe 2-1 odds, but.
I'm with you, bro. That price tag is a little bit ridiculous when he's going to be giving up the amount of size and stuff that he's given. Right. You touched on Brad's leg kicks, man. So, in the short amount of tape I did get to watch on the Aleksa de Silva, he throws a great leg kick as well, man. But he almost throws it naked a little bit. He doesn't throw it behind his combos to start or finish his combos like Brad does. It's almost a little naked. He throws it to I don't know. He throws it hard just to land some power. And on a great striker, you're looking to counter pretty easy if you throw that leg kick naked like that.
Now, do you see any value on De Silva being almost a 3-1 dog?
After watching the Jamie Malarkey fight and seeing Brad slow down and stuff, yes. But personally, I don't think I'm going to play it.
I'm with you. One more thing working in De Silva's favor is that of his 21 wins, 20 of them are by finish. Yeah. So he looks to get it done in there, and if Ridell does start to slow down in those later rounds, I could see him taking advantage of that, although I don't see it happening. And like I said, I lean towards Ridell getting this done.
Same for me, brother.
All right, so now we move on to the main card. Yes. Fights get a little bit more exciting, and we know a little bit more about these guys.
Absolutely.
So we start off with Hakeem Dawodu versus Zubaira Tukhugov. Now, Hakeem, 11-1-1. He's on a 4-fight win streak since entering the UFC and losing his debut. Yeah. Man, he has progressed so much since that first fight. Every single fight he gets better. He is so patient with his striking. You would think that he's a UFC vet, you know? He has a very calculated attack, and he's very patient with his timing and when he chooses to engage or disengage. Now, Zubaira, maybe some of the toughest matchups going into the UFC of anybody. In his 5 fights in the UFC, his opponents' combined records are 75-6, and that's crazy to me. And for him to go 3-1-1 in those fights, props to him, man. I know now he's training at AKA. He's got Khabib as a training partner, and it's just. I could see him getting this done, and I also think that we'll see some easy or some huge leaps in his game from his last fights. Now I know that Zubaira he likes to spam that spinning back fist, and I think that he'll look to set that up a couple of times. But with both of these guys kind of being calculated fighters, I could actually see this kind of playing out to be more of a chess match if Zubaira isn't able to get it to the ground, which I think Hakeem, his defense is good enough to where he can expect those takedowns and keep it on the feet. And like I said, I say chess match. But realistically, I mean this to kind of be a boring fight. I know that maybe not a lot of people are seeing it like that, but I could see a lot of their attacks. They're looking for an opening, and neither one of them give a lot of openings.
I feel you, man. So when I first heard of Hakeem Dawodu making his UFC debut, I saw the name, caught my attention, went and looked at this Canadian striker, man, and super high on this guy. He was a guy like the Israel and like the Peter Yans that I was super excited to watch him make his debut, and I thought was, the sky was the limit for him. And to go out there and get choked out by Danny Henry like that, I was like, man, is he really ready for the UFC? But since then, man, back to the drawing board, and 4 really impressive wins, in my opinion. Only 1 finish, but pretty impressive wins where he dominated a lot of the fight. Man, like when it comes to Zubaira, in that Roland Murphy fight, he really did slow down bad. Granted that, we're back in Abu Dhabi again where that fight was, where we saw him slow down. It's not, I don't think it's outside anymore. I think that it was on the Khabib and Dustin where they said it was like 100 degrees in the facility when they were fighting or something like that, man, and you could see it. I've never seen anybody sweat so much in my life. He could barely walk when he was done. I expect him to get that fixed in this fight, like you said. He's got a really, really good left hand, man. The one he put Aguilar down, he's put a couple good people down with the left hand. He's actually the one that cheap shotted Connor and came up and hit Connor from behind and stuff. So Zubaira, a little bad taste in my mouth, man. I'm not a fan of him in general, to be honest with you, but I really do think that if it gets to the mat, he's going to dominate. That being said, I don't think it will be as easy to get to the mat as he is anticipating. Hakeem Dawodu has very, very good strength. I think he's almost like somebody like Israel. When you come in with striking that's such at a high level, you're allowed to, you're allowed to let your takedown defense and stuff just grow and get better when you have, just lived a striking lifetime like that. And that's something I think we're seeing with Dawodu is his takedown defense, his wrestling get better every time he steps in there. And I like him to be able to defend these takedowns. If Zubaira wastes a lot of energy in that first round and can't get it down to the ground, is not successful, I like Dawodu to take over about halfway through that second round and really, really start putting it on him. Dawodu's got a great left high kick as well. And Zubaira, man, if he keeps his hands low while he's exiting that pocket, Dawodu loves to throw him while, at the end of exchanges and stuff. After, someone's throwing a hook and they're backing up, you'll see it coming. Man, Dawodu's got some legit striking skills that Zubaira just doesn't have. Zubaira looks to land the big shot, while Dawodu is very comfortable with piecing you up for 15 minutes. I'm going to lean with Dawodu, but this is the other fight that I didn't have circled going into it, man, because this one is the closest fight of the whole night, in my opinion.
So you touched on Zubaira is definitely going to be looking to get it to the ground, and if he can't, I lean towards Hakeem Dawodu to get this done. I say easy, but to get it done pretty decisively. He has a 4-inch reach advantage going into this, and he outlands his opponents almost 6-2. So his output is much higher than his opponents, and I think that speaks to him being able to engage and disengage so quickly and on his own terms. So I lean towards Hakeem, especially at these pick'em odds. I wouldn't necessarily bet it just because this is such a close fight and I don't really know how to call it, but I do lean towards Hakeem.
I'm the same with you, man. And our one and only female fight of the night, we have Ketlen Viera, who's 10-1, fighting Sijara Eubanks, who's 7-4. And Ketlen Viera had a lot of hype when she was entering the UFC. She's a big girl for that bantamweight division, and she was just steamrolling her way through. I think she beat 3 girls just pretty single-handedly, and then Irene Aldana just absolutely slept her with that left hook. Man, you don't really see girls get their lights put out like that. She was out cold, and that was off of one left hook. Irene did not follow up with any shots or anything. She was put out cold. Now she's taking her time off. I think her chin is absolutely healed, and you don't see that in a girl's fight in general. I don't think Sijara Eubanks is going to come out here and get that done and knock her out again. That being said, you look at Sijara Eubanks' resume compared to Ketlen Viera's resume, and it's on another level, man. Ketlen Viera's on that low-level regional Brazilian scene where she wasn't fighting very much girls, but she is much younger. She's like 6 years younger, much bigger fighter, and I think she has the grappling skills to keep up with Sijara Eubanks. Sijara Eubanks is a world jiu-jitsu champion, and we saw her go out there and absolutely use it and dominate Julia Avila on the fight, on the mat. Massive underdog. She's coming in as another underdog. I'm worried. She's moved up to 35 now. She's had 2 good weight cuts in a row. But Carol Hossa just got pulled in the middle of a weight cut, and now she's weight cutting again with a girl who's had weight issues. So, curious to see how Sijara steps on the scale. I usually stay away from Sijara Eubanks fights. Probably going to completely stay away from this one as we've gotten burned on some girls' fights here recently, but I like Ketlen Viera to get this done, man.
I also lean towards Ketlen Viera. You touched on her resume maybe not being as good, but she does have some solid wins. One of them being over Sarah McMahon and another one being over Kat Zingano, who we saw in Bellator. She still got it, Ketlen Viera with 4 sub wins. I don't think that she's going to be doing that on Sijara Eubanks, so I would expect her to want to keep this standing up, especially with a 4-inch height advantage. I expect her to use that length to her advantage. Now, Eubanks, I'm not really sure how anybody can go to a decision win and get cleared to fight 2 weeks later. Yeah. I mean, we see a lot of people like Polyana Viana the other week who got a sub first round, and has 6 month suspension. Yeah. So I'm just not sure how she got cleared. That being said, she did look great against Julia Avila, and she really surprised me. I don't think it's gonna be the same outcome in this Viera fight. I also lean towards Viera, but it's another one. It's a girl fight, and I'm just not comfortable with betting it. Right. I wasn't even comfortable betting the Mackenzie Dern fight last week, but I'm happy that we did.
Right.
Okay, so now we move on to some flyweights. Kai Kara France, who is 21-8, versus Brandon Raw Dog Royval, shout out Chan, at 11-4. Now, Kai Kara France, he's coming off a win against Tyson Nam, who we just saw got it done last week as well. He looked actually really good on that. And Kai Kara France is also coming out of City Kickboxing. Now he has a great jab and a inside leg kick to try and feel out the striking, and once he gets that established, we can look for him to follow up his jabs with an overhand right that will punish you. It will absolutely punish you. Now Kai Kara France, he has a full arsenal of attacks. I really do think that he has just as wide as range as, this might be too early, but John Jones. I think that he can pull strikes from anywhere and kind of deliver him in a way where they're disguised and you don't really know what's going to be coming. Now Brandon Royval, he's on a 3-fight win streak and he's only lost by decision. He's never been finished, so I don't expect him to get finished this time either. If it does go to the ground, he does have the advantage there for sure. I know whenever he fought Tim Elliott was able to get him to the ground multiple times, but he was able to defend it with submission attacks. He's very active off his back, and you really got to watch out for him on the ground especially. He has 7 sub wins coming into this. So I think Kai Kara France, as long as he can keep it off the ground, he should win this relatively easily. I think that his striking is levels above Brandon Royval's.
Bro, you touched on it with his striking, man. That is what Kai Kara France lives for, bro. His striking is super good. So you touched on both of them, man. I have it right here. His right leg kick and his right hand, his 2 best shots, he looks to set it up well. And, man, once he comes over top with that right hand, it really does sting some flyweights, That being said, Brandon Royval, man, he's 5'9". He's going to be the much bigger opponent compared to Kai Kara France, who's only 5'4". Now, I say that, but we watched Kai Kara France on the Ultimate Fighter knock out 5'10" Terrence McKinney. So, I mean, he's definitely been in there with guys who are bigger than him. Brandon Royval is the LFA champ, man. So he, defended his belt for a long time, and I threw him on the list up there with Ludovit Klein, as he was one of the better guys outside of the UFC that wasn't signed. The wrestling is not there. The submissions are absolutely there, though. And I don't. Kai Kara France has not got somebody that's going to come out there and out wrestle him. He's definitely going to try to keep it on the feet. He's somebody that Royval, in my opinion, might be able to out wrestle. But we've seen Kai Kara France, man, on the receiving end of quite a few good little decisions that I don't think should have gone his way. There's something about, I don't know if it's the following he has in Australia and stuff like that, but man, Kai Kara France always finds himself on a good card, a co-main event, a fight night, something. Kai Kara France is always in a good spot on a card or something, and he doesn't have the hype or the skill set for me to do that.
Maybe it's the name. I like his name.
It has to be, man, and it has to be the fact that everybody else is fighting on the card with him. But like you said, if it stays on the feet, Kai Kara France has got this all day. If it hits the mat, I really am worried that Brandon Royval can catch him with the sub. But Brandon Royval cannot let this go to decision, especially with Kai Kara France's whole team fighting on this card. If it's a close one, they're going to lean toward Kai Kara France and give him that dub.
I agree.
And man, our co-main event of the night, I'm so glad this fight was added to this fight card. We have the light heavyweight title fight between Dominick Reyes, who's 12-1, and Jan Blachowicz, who's 26-8. And man, first time since 2011 somebody besides John Jones or DC will hold the light heavyweight strap. It's crazy to think about. That's almost 10 years, man.
It is. And it's been a long time coming.
It has been a long time coming, and if he's not going to fight and he wants these money fights, I respect John Jones so much for vacating this belt and let somebody have it. There's nothing more that I hate than seeing interim titles and weight classes held up because people don't want to fight. He is the GOAT, man. Jones can do what he wants to do, and I respect him a ton for letting this belt go.
Not to mention him relinquishing that belt, it really gives the division an opportunity to figure out who those top contenders are and give him somebody who people will actually be excited to see him fight. I know that Thiago Santos and Dominick Reyes gave him really good fights when they did, but as far as the hype leading into those, it was untouchable compared to the DC fights or, anybody that he faced, Lyoto Machida, anybody.
So with Dom Reyes, man, he is coming off the loss to John Jones. Man, that was a super close fight, and it was the closest fight we've ever seen John Jones have. In my opinion, John Jones got hit more than we've seen him ever get hit before. Thing about Reyes, man, he gassed. I don't know if he gassed or if he just, went up, thought he was up 3 rounds and coasted those last couple championship rounds. Man, it was super unimpressive to me, in my opinion, and, almost wants to make me play Blachowicz here, man, because this is another 5-round fight, and if Dominick Reyes gets up early, I don't like the mindset that he has. We touched on his fight with Volkan Ozdemir too and stuff, man. He's lucky, but at the same time, I do think he's much deserving of this title shot, and I think Jan Blachowicz is just as deserving of this title shot, man. These guys match up so well. One thing I like about Jan Blachowicz so much, man, in his last 7 fights, he's been the underdog in 6 of them. And the only fight he was not the underdog in was Jacare Souza moving up to light heavyweight to fight him. People literally sleep on Jan Blachowicz. They sleep on the Polish Power. And, man, ask Luke Rockhold and Corey Anderson if you should be sleeping on that, because he put their lights out, man. We haven't seen Luke fight yet, and we're seeing freaking Corey Anderson and Bellator now, man, And I love Jan Blachowicz, man. I really do. He's got super underrated wrestling, and what I think is his biggest advantage here is going to be the wrestling. Whether he uses it or not, he's going to be so much stronger up against the fence and in the clinch game and stuff than Dominick Reyes. But if he throws and overextends, Dominick Reyes can hit that step back counter like Conor McGregor can with that left hand. It's clean, man, and I mean the left hand in general is super clean, bro. It's that fight I'm talking about. It's the uppercut he finished Jared Cannonier with. It's his UFC debut where he just split somebody's guard with his left hand. He's super sharp with the left hand. I really do see that land on Jan Blachowicz a little bit. And the biggest difference here, man, is Dominick Reyes is 30 years old and in his prime. We got Jan Blachowicz at 37. That being said, Blachowicz does look like he's in his prime as of late. I don't think that the age difference is going to play a huge factor, but I think the volume that Reyes is going to throw versus the counter-striking game plan that Jan tries to come in with, I think Dominick Reyes, man, I think it's honestly by another decision. I think Dominick Reyes is just gonna outpoint him and throw more, probably win 3-2 on the rounds. I think maybe he takes number 1 and number 2 and maybe number 3, man. But as it gets late, I think Jan's got more dog in him and stuff. And if the fight gets dirty, man, Dom better watch out because Jan's going to be in his face.
So you talked about Dominick Reyes' mindset. I think he's coming into this thinking he's the champion.
Yeah.
I think he thinks that he's going to absolutely destroy Jan. And for some reason, the odds apparently he's supposed to destroy Jan. At Dominick Reyes sitting at minus 268 is ridiculous to me. I already 2, maybe 3 weeks ago, I put money on Jan Blachowicz at a plus 200, and now he's sitting at a plus 241. I'm going to double down on him because I've got Jan winning this fight. I'm just not so high on Dominick Reyes. I think that his fight with John Jones has made everybody think that he's just an excellent fighter, but realistically, I think he's just a bad matchup for Jones.
Yeah.
You talked about the Volkan Ozdemir fight. He lost that fight. Yeah. Even the commentators thought he lost that fight. And then to touch on his wins, what are his best wins against 2 185ers, Jared Cannonier and Chris Weidman? And then maybe you count the OSP win, but the OSP at that time, I mean, still now he's spotty, dude. I mean, you never know if he's going to win or lose. So I don't give any of his 205 wins really much credit, and even the Volkan, I think he lost that one. Like I said, one of the things that he struggled with Volkan is his power. Volkan was just much more powerful than him. We saw him get like 3 takedowns on him, and that's something that you touched on again. Jan Blachowicz, that's where he has the advantage for sure, is on the ground. I know that he's fought two heavy wrestlers in the past, and Devin Clark and Nikita Krylov, and he subbed both of them.
Yeah.
Now, Krylov was able to take him down, but he immediately sweeped him, and then we saw him control him for 2 rounds. I lean towards Jan for a bunch of reasons. He's got twice the amount of experience. He's in the losses that he has, 2 of them, one of them was against Corey Anderson, one of them was against Jimmy Manuwa. He was able to avenge both of them.
Yeah.
As you've said, at age 37, I don't think he's ever looked better. He's continuing to impress me, and I think Dominick is going to overlook him for whatever reason. I think he's going to overlook him, and I see Jan catching a left high kick from Dominick Reyes and delivering catching the left high kick, dumping Dominick Reyes onto the ground, and then submitting his ass. I see that happening. I see Jan Blachowicz getting it done relatively easily, and I think it's going to be inside the distance. I don't see why these odds are like that, and I will be doubling down on Jan.
Yeah. So you had touched on Dominick Reyes throwing that left high kick. He throws it great, man, and if he wants to, limit the power Jan's going to throw at him, I feel like he needs to throw that high kick because Jan's a great counter puncher, and Jan is deceptively fast. In that Luke Rockhold fight, he would hit Luke with a left hook that would get him worried about it. The next exchange they had, he stepped in with a right hand every time, just a lead right, and it was quick, man. It was too quick for Luke Rockhold to even, to get out of the way, and I think he's gonna have his fair share of opportunities, but Dominick Reyes just overall output and volume, pressure, throwing the left head kick. He's got to be perfect, man. I don't think he's gonna finish Jan Blachowicz, but I think there's so many opportunities for Jan to finish Dom in this one, and we can't touch this fight without speaking of the dead man's rope, man. You know, you haven't seen that clip of any of the social medias with Jan, how he found the guy hanging in the woods and now goes back to touch his rope and stuff before every fight. It's got a 90% success rate. So Jan's, man, them Polish are crazy.
Yeah, Jan's only loss since 2017 is coming to Thiago Santos, who, we saw he was a title challenger and he was earning of that challenge. And I see Jan getting this done, like I said, relatively easily. I think he's going to show people why that Polish power. I think he's just going to show that Polish power. It's going to be very similar to the Volkan fight where he just kind of is stronger than Dominick Reyes. He's going to be able to get it to the ground, and I see him subbing him.
Awesome. So we are split on that one, but man, I'm definitely not overlooking Jan Blachowicz. I think he has a for real chance of getting it done. I think he's getting disrespected bad by the odds makers.
I was about to say, we both agree that those odds are very skewed.
And brother, the main event of the evening.
Main event of the evening, man. So Israel, the last stylebender Adesanya, who's 19-0 versus Paulo the Eraser Costa at 13-0. Somebody's always got to go.
Yes, sir.
I'm very excited for this fight. So Adesanya, 6'4", 80-inch reach. Yep. He's averaged over his last 3 opponents a 6.5-inch reach advantage. So this is nothing new to him as far as knowing how to keep that distance and everything. Now, I don't think that it worked so well against Kelvin Gastelum. Kelvin Gastelum actually has a half-inch less reach advantage than Costa, and Gastelum was able to touch Izzy like 5 or 6 times,
especially in that first round.
5 or 6 times with hooks in the first round. He touched him plenty over the fight, but in that first round specifically, I don't think that you're going to be able to get away with that with somebody with Costa's volume and power.
Yeah, so in that first round, Izzy's mouth got swollen up in his lip. He can't take that punch from Costa.
Right, I totally agree. And Izzy's going to be the much lighter guy going in there. I know on Monday he tweeted out 87.7 kilograms, which translates to 193 pounds. So he's cutting 8 pounds. Yeah. He could do that today, He's going to be smaller in the fact that he's just not going to be as strong. So if Costa is able to kind of close that distance and get into the clinch, I could see some problems getting there, especially that dirty boxing range. That does not favor Izzy by any means. Now, Costa. He hasn't had a legit KO since 2015, where I see a lot of people talking about his power, and I don't think that he's as powerful as people are talking about. I think that he just brings volume to the table. I know that you got a stat that you'll throw out there. I'm not sure about it, but he throws volume.
Yes.
You know, he really, really does. Now, they have a common opponent in Yoel. They're both coming off fights against him, and I think my biggest takeaway from those fights is that over 5 rounds, Izzy only absorbed 40 strikes from Yoel,
right,
where Costa in 3 rounds absorbed 125 strikes. So he's the much more hittable guy.
Yeah.
Much more hittable guy. And I hope that Izzy had kind of learned from that Kelvin Gastelum fight to maybe not take as many risks in that first round. Treat it like the Anderson Silva fight and try and feel him out. Like, don't let him get close. Kind of, avoid trying to get the early knockout like he did against Robert Whittaker. Like, let's see. I would prefer him to try and drag this fight out as long as possible because I see it favoring him the longer the fight goes.
Absolutely, man. So this is such a close fight in my opinion. You've got Paulo Costa, whose biggest weakness is going to be somebody who can dance around and outpoint him, and that's what Israel is. And you've got somebody in Israel whose weakness is somebody who's going to march forward, take his kicks away, and land the hook that we saw him knocked out with in Glory. That's Paulo Costa, man. Both these guys' strengths play into the other's weakness and vice versa. Most anticipated fight, regardless of their records for me in 2020. Huge Israel fan. You can see the 236 shirt. Man, I was blessed to be at that Kelvin Gastelum and Izzy fight live. I don't think I sat down for the full 25 minutes. It was impossible to. You touched on Kelvin, hitting Izzy and touching Izzy and stuff up, but, man, at the same time, Kelvin took his fair share of damage too, man, and that's what you see when guys want to pressure Izzy and Kelvin and Robert Whittaker, Jared Cannonier, that was the last fight, Brad Tavares and stuff, man. When guys want to press up against Izzy, and Derek Brunson, man, he lights you up. He does, and, that's Costa's game plan. It's going to be to march forward, and thank God this is back at Fight Island in a bigger octagon, because if this was at the Apex, I might lean more toward Paulo Costa in that smaller octagon. Israel has a lot more movement in this fight, a lot more space to move around. And, man, we touched on the feints of somebody that we were talking about in the City Kickboxing.
Brad Ridell.
Brad Ridell. Dude, Israel's feints are stupid, man. He's constantly just feinting at you. And one thing he does really well, man, is when he feints and someone overcommits, dude, he grabs that tie clinch, and it's quick. That knee is coming up the middle. That's how I think Israel's going to get this done. I think it's in the 4th round. I'm going to even say it by the round. I think he catches Costa in the clinch, and I think he gives him a knee up the middle that we see buckle Costa. That being said, man, Costa's about as scary as it gets at 185. I have absolutely no idea how he makes that weight. But I'm all here for it, dude, because, I love watching Paulo Costa fight. The way he marches forward, you don't see anybody fight Yoel that way. You've never seen it. It was super impressive to me. Talk about the stat, man. It's like over 8.5 strikes a minute or something like that Costa lands. He has the highest strikes per minute in UFC history. He is a volume puncher, man. That being said, 40% of those are to the body, man, and that's what Paulo Costa does better than anybody, in my opinion, is really, really work that body, whether it be with his right hook when he backs you up against the cage, or his left body kick, or the right body kick. No matter if you come out in southpaw or orthodox, he'll throw it to your open side, or he will step through with the left and land it on your open side if you're orthodox as well, man. It's very, very smart, and there's not a person on the roster that I think works the body as good as Costa. If he can get that body kick to work against Israel and back him up against the cage, that's where he's going to have success. But there's not a guy on the roster that's better at range management and using his striking than Israel, man. He reminds me of the Conor McGregors, of the Wonder Boys, of the Silvas. If you don't pressure this guy, if you are willing to get in a striking battle with him, you're going to get knocked out. Your skills are just not on to the level of Israel Adesanya. And if Costa doesn't come out here and really push him up against the fence, man, and work that body a lot, I like Israel to really piece him up, man, and use that jab really well. But, touch on Costa using the body a lot. Man, Izzy throws that 1-2 with the right coming to the body just as much, and I see Costa fading more than I do Izzy as well. Something Izzy is that guy. I will take credit for UFC debut. Always been a fan of Izzy since Rob Wilkinson fight. Man, I've been a huge fan of Israel Adesanya. And that Kelvin Gastelum fight, man, it gave me so much more respect for him. I know there's a clip out there on the internet of his mouth going into that 5th round. He says, "I'm willing to die out here." Mm-hmm. He really is, man, and you don't find that in a lot of guys. Izzy loves the spotlight, which is another thing I love to see about a fighter. You're not going to see Izzy come in here and be shy, be nervous on his first title fight, being on a pay-per-view. He's out there dancing before he's knocking Robert Whittaker out and stuff, man. He loves the spotlight. Can't pick against my boy, man. I'm going with the 4th round KO for Israel. Think he's going to catch the tie clinch and catch him with the knee up the middle.
I like that pick. I really do. I wanted to touch a little on the resumes of each of them.
Yeah.
Now, Izzy's got legitimate wins over Robert Whittaker, Derek Brunson, Kelvin Gastelum. The Yoel fight was subpar. Realistically, it was subpar, but he did beat him.
They're both counter-strikers,
right?
And
right.
Yoel doesn't normally fight like that. Yoel normally comes after you, and he didn't with Israel.
He realized the power and the threats that Izzy has, especially trying to pressure somebody like Izzy. But that's 4 people I can name off the top of my head that are legit wins. When you move to Paulo Costa, his fight with Yoel, he arguably lost that fight. And then before that, his best win, maybe Uriah Hall, who was 1-3 in his last 4 coming into that fight. So realistically, I don't think Costa has been tested the way Izzy has. Mm-hmm. And then that speaks to how is Paulo going to perform in this environment, I'm pretty sure he was he main eventing with Yoel?
No, that was on a pay-per-view. It was on a 3-round fight.
Right. Okay. So, I don't know if Paulo Costa is going to show up this time. This really is the biggest lights that he's ever seen, and Izzy's been in this position plenty of times and delivered each and every time. Right. So, I really think that experience will play into Izzy's wheelhouse as well.
Nice. So we do agree on the main event there. We like Izzy to get it done, man.
Mm-hmm. And I think the odds are relatively spot on. Yeah. I think Izzy at a -165, I actually do like that.
I'm with you, man. And this Saturday, it's such a great pay-per-view with 2 title fights, man, that I can't wait for. We got Jan Blachowicz and Dominick Reyes fighting for the vacant light heavyweight in Israel versus Costa, man. Somebody's O's got to go. Mm-hmm. Hope to have any night like we had last weekend, plus positive over 7 units, man. That's over 13 units positive in the last month, so we're on fire right now, man. I'm hoping we keep that going.
Be sure to check our Twitter. I know that we'll solidify some picks that me and you can agree on, and that'll be our picks for the podcast. And one other thing, shout out to this guy right here. This is his last podcast as a single man.
Yes, sir.
He is getting married on Saturday, so wish him some luck in the comment section.
Absolutely, I appreciate that. But don't worry, guys. We will be doing the podcast while I'm on my honeymoon. We're not missing a week, I promise.
I don't know how we got away with that.
So, yeah, like we said, make sure to follow us on all the social media platforms as well. We will be tweeting out our Bet MMA picks where we're always tracked at. It was supposed to be up here for everybody to see. That'll be hopefully fixed by the next time you see us, man. We're only 35 subscribers away from somebody getting the signed Matt Brown and Robbie Lawler poster. So super excited for that, man, and super excited for this Saturday.
Do you want to touch on maybe our fighter to watch and our picks of the night?
So I'll go ahead and say, my fight of the night, I touched on a little bit earlier. It's going to be Shane Young and Ludovit Klein. Both these guys really come to bring it. I don't see either one of these guys taking the fight to the mat. Both of them are willing to engage and throw down. Shane Young and Ludovit Klein is going to be a good fight Saturday.
So my fight to watch is Dominick Reyes, Jan Blachowicz. Yep. I think I'm going to see Jan get this done, but I do think it's going to be a dog fight. I really do. I think it'll be two people really gunning for that championship belt, and I think that they're going to deliver for sure.
So my fighter to watch is actually Jan Blachowicz. I think he's getting completely disrespected right here and overlooked, but I think he has a damn good shot at winning this. I hope Jan Blachowicz wins, even though I picked Dominick Reyes. Man, I want Jan Blachowicz to win this fight. He's my fighter to watch on Saturday.
Nice. My fighter to watch is Diego Sanchez.
I do it.
I really hope that he wins. I really hope he can deliver and just pull something out, like some magic, field bullshit. But he's my fighter to watch for sure. That'll be an entertaining fight, to say the least, I promise.
Again, so check the Twitter. Come Saturday, we will post the official picks. Hope everybody's tailing, and I hope to go for 5th event in a row, man, or we're making some money.
Heck yeah.
Everybody take care, and hope you're cashing with us.
Peace.